and welcome to Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland FC. My name is Lee Thurkel. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and we're back here on a Thursday evening or a Thursday morning for one of our guests. We're going to do a review of the 3 games so far and the transfer business that we've done and the squad as it stands. But without further ado, let me introduce my guests. First of all, we've got 2 guests who are from the telly, believe it or not, but in different countries. So the first guest we've got is our good friend Dan Dimitrov from the Bulgarian Supporters Association of Sunderland FC. Dan, how are you, mate? How's the TV business going?
Hello, Lee. Hello, Peter. Thanks for inviting me again in this podcast. Always pleasure, always honor to be part of it. I'm really well. Enjoying myself, enjoying the season so far. Yeah, life is good.
Are you doing much TV work for the Bulgarian TV?
I'm going to start actually doing more for Bulgarian TV, which is the equivalent of Sky over there. They want me to cover a Bulgarian player who is playing for Leeds United. So I'll be probably doing more Leeds United games in London and around the country. But I think I'll be doing the Newcastle-Sunderland derby as well. At St. James's Park, which is going to be unbelievable experience for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be doing a few other derbies in London, probably when Liverpool and Man United visit. So we don't know exactly, but I'll be busier this season.
You haven't been given the Palace game in a couple of weeks?
No, Palace game, I got tickets and I'm going with my son just to enjoy it. I'll be
brilliant
in the stands supporting the lads as usual.
Yeah, well, you know what I think, Dan? There's no better Bulgarian football commentator in England than you, mate, so...
How do you know that?
Instinct.
Especially after a couple of whiskeys.
Yeah. Right, our next guest is another coach, and he's also just got a new TV role. It's Pete Showler. Pete's originally from Chesley Street, but he lives in Washington State. Pete, how are you doing, mate? And tell us a bit about your TV venture.
I'm doing better than I deserve, Lee. I'm doing better than I deserve. You know, enjoying the game over here. The nearest city to me is Spokane, and we just last year they formed 2 pro teams, men and women, and actually they've just formed a professional team for athletes with disabilities. So the owners have sponsored a team with that's going to be fully professional for athletes and football players that have disabilities. So it's phenomenal.
Brilliant stuff.
So yeah, I've been very fortunate. The local TV station, Sports, is SWX, and they have me on and talk about the local teams. So I've just been honoured to do that. So yeah, looking forward to Sunderland's season, looking forward to their season. The women's season over here kicks off on Saturday for the home games, and I'm going to be at the home game and meet with the owners and chat from there.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Do you know, Pete, I would call you like the best coach in the USA, but I don't want to upset our other guest, Sean Coxon in New Jersey. I'll let you and Sean fight out for yourself, but listen.
Sean's a good lad, though.
He's a good lad. He's like a box of Quality Street, because you put your hand in the box and you never know what you're going to get with him. So his WhatsApp messages, he always sends an audio and he always starts with, "Oh man, that team is absolutely disgusting." And then about 90 minutes later, he says, hey, that Lebris know what he's doing, doesn't he? We love you, Sean, mate. We love you. Anyway.
Yeah, we do.
Dan, so listen, when the fixtures came out, we all looked, obviously, for the Mags game, of course, but we looked at those first 3 games and we thought, bloody hell, we've got a good chance of picking up some points there, haven't we? And listen, we picked up 6 out of 9, and we could have been greedy and could say we could have got 9 if Mayenda's chance had gone in. But listen, it's been a brilliant start, hasn't it?
Absolutely agree with that. When the fixture list came out, to be honest, I actually looked at the first 5 games, and I thought, well, this is quite a good start for us, because if you can't beat the teams, I mean, no disrespect to these teams, but like your chances are much greater to have against teams like that. And then I was still in Bulgaria. We were celebrating with our brunch 3-in-1, as I call it. We were celebrating promotion. We were celebrating our birthday. and we also celebrating the beginning of the new season. So it was like 3-1, and we got to this place like a pub in Sofia, and put our flags there, and then everybody was in a very, very good way and good spirits, and
Joyful mood.
very joyful mood, and we didn't know what to expect. Everybody was like a little bit cautious with what we're saying, and like with a bit of an optimism, but like also being Sunderland, we know that what can happen. But as we all know, convincing 3-0 win, it was just unbelievable atmosphere. We were like screaming the place down. We were celebrating, and the beers were going well, and it was what a beginning of the season. What a event we had. We were like about 35 of us, and that was a great moment for us. That's going to live forever, because we haven't been in the Premier League for 8 years, and then to start like this was a very joyful experience for us. So we were, yeah. I mean, if I have to move on with the other games, I mean, the frustration was against Burnley, because, as you said, we had a good chances in the first half, particularly played well in the first half, and then there was Dan Ballard injury very early on in the game, and on the 4th minute, I think. And that, I mean, I'm not saying this is the excuse that we lost, but kind of the game went different way, and it just went from bad to worse. And then I would say also a very naive way to lose the game like this, because after 1-0 we were trying to press high up the pitch, and obviously we left big gaps at the back, and then Burnley hit us on the counter, and it was one of those games that you're trying to forget quickly, and the lads did against Brentford. I was back in England. I was meant to travel to Sunderland, but I couldn't. There was so much to do here. And then me and my son was watching it on his computer, and it was like we were screaming like 96 minutes. It was unbelievable. This was, I mean, what a way to win a football game, especially in the Premier League. I mean, saving the penalty and then scoring a penalty like 5 minutes after they scored, and then that winner in the last minute. It becoming a habit for us to score in the last minute. And then I think Wilson Isidore, for me, is a top class player, and I think he should start.
Mm-hmm. Pete, I think, for example, that Brentford game was a great advert for Premier League football, because it had everything, didn't it? Basically, you had the penalty, you had the overturned goal from VAR, you had Isidore, you had the VAR wait. It had everything, didn't it, that game?
It did. And you know what's interesting? I'm not one for stats, but you can't really argue with them. You know, you look at all the 3 games. West Ham had 62% possession against us, and we won that one 3-0. That was a lot like last season. We'd soak up the pressure, and as Dan was saying, we'd catch teams on the counter-attack. That's what happened in the West Ham game. They had a lot of possession. We look at the Burnley game. They outpossessed us. We had 9 shots, but we only had 3 shots on target. But I agree with Dan. Seal was just not ready. He's a good player. He's just a little slow in how he responds and reacts. And unfortunately, he doesn't anticipate. And that's where I think we got found out. Even when he came into the West Ham game, he slid in for a couple of balls. And I'm like, stay on your feet, lad, stay on your feet. He never really did that. I mean, it's sad to see him go out on loan, but that was a turning point in that game for me, losing Ballard. The nice thing is we've got a couple of weeks of the international break coming up. But then, ironically, the Brentford game, we had more possession than them, and we ended up winning. So all 3 games have kind of been very, very different in terms of possession and shots on goal. And again, those stats don't lie, but it's been very different to last season, where we just soaked up pressure and counterattacked. And all 3 games have had different elements to it that we haven't really seen. Now, obviously, we've got a completely different 11 starting, or at least 9. At least 9 of them are completely different. So it is going to be different, but it's interesting to see how Regis Labrie has adapted. You know, it's not like Amarin at Man United sticks with a 3-4-3. We have played pretty fluid footy through the same lineup, but we've just played it very differently.
Yeah. Dan, on that topic of possession, what do you think we're better at? Basically, a low block and trying to counter, or are we better when we have the ball more?
Well, I think that we need to treat every game differently. Sometimes, like against West Ham, I think it was the right decision to let them have the ball and then counter-attack them. Then there will be games that we need to be dominating, particularly at home. I'd say that this tactics to let the opposition have the ball more is more for the away games, where you can sit back. We've got fast players. We can hit the opposition on counter-attack easily, like we were doing in the most important games last season and this season against West Ham. So for me, it's who we play and where we play them. And I mean, it's down to Regis Lebris, obviously, to think about what tactics he's going to use for every game. But it looks like that's the main logic with regards to possession.
Mm-hmm. Pete, I think like one of the biggest changes that I've noticed is that last year or last season we used to kind of conk out a little bit towards the end of the matches, didn't we? We didn't really have the fitness or the stamina. Obviously, the playoffs was different, wasn't it? But like towards the end of the season, the league season. But this year we brought in some players that can just run for 120 minutes, never mind 90. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you know, when you bring in players like Regan Isidore off the bench, that's quality and still young players with loads of energy. I agree with Dan. I would be starting Isidore over Mayenda. But, I mean, both are actually doing a lot of work. And Mayenda does a lot of tracking. But I think the big difference for me is how deep Xhaka goes to pick that ball up. Where when Dan Neil did that last season, I know it's a different level of competition now and the speed of play is different. But Xhaka just goes in and has that calming influence on the whole team. And he gets a foot on the ball and calms everything down. But the excitement he's shown when we've scored just shows his passion to want to be here. I mean, I think he's the sign. We're a little biased on here, obviously. But I think he's the signing of the season already because we got him for £10 million. What a bargain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dan, on another point is that of the team that got us up last season, only 2 of those started the first 2 games of the season. Oh, sorry, 3, which was Hume, Ballard, and Mayenda. Are you surprised that we've kind of not exactly ditched the rest of them, but we've kind of replaced them? You don't think that a couple of them could have been given a chance?
Well, I wouldn't say I was surprised. I mean, obviously, the Premier League, the demands are different there. The standards are different, and you need to be prepared well for the Premier League. So I think we had, pretty much we had 7 new players and 1, which was Silt, who was almost like new because he hasn't played at all because he was injured. And I think there's no surprise there for sure. What it is that we need to use the right players at the right time, and then we will see different mixture over the different games. But as Nottingham Forest did a few years ago when they got promoted, they changed completely the whole squad. So, I mean, I was sad to see Patrick Roberts leaving because I still believe that he's an extremely talented player. It could have helped us in the Premier League. But obviously, we've got so many players now to choose from, and then it's becoming like really hard for the lads from the last season to find a place in the first squad. With regards to the rest of the guys who left Sunderland, I don't think there's huge misses there, bar Bellingham, which was like a known story. And then Tommy Watson also like was well known what's going to happen. So I think the rest of the lads, Rusin and all the others, it was just there was no way they're going to play in the Premier League. So now the question is whether you're going to play with 2 strikers like Isidore and Mayenda because they play really well together. Whether you're going to get the new guy, Brobby from Ajax. I don't know. I mean, the good thing is we've got options, and that is like, I didn't expect that, to be honest. I never expected, if someone said to me 180 million to spend next season, I'll be like, you nuts. There's no way we're going to spend 180 million. And look what happened. Exactly that. So not only that, but I think we've got quite good bargains. And let's say from 14 or 15 players, if you have a couple of flops, it's not a problem. But if the rest of them are good enough, then I think we've done a good business.
Well, so far they've shown that they're good enough. We're going to get onto that in a minute, but Pete, Dan's made a point there about Patrick Robertson being disappointed that he's left. Are you surprised that he's left, given the fact that he basically resurrected his career at Sunderland? He came from a Premier League team. He dropped down to League One. He's gone on the journey from League One to Championship to Premier League. He's got here. He's played like a cameo role at Burnley, and now he's decided to leave to go to Birmingham to get more regular football. Is that not a bit surprising and disappointing that he hasn't decided to stick around, or do you think it's because of a decision out of his hands that he basically been told that he's not going to play and forced out? What do you reckon?
Well, I think any player of his age wants to play, and he's going to go to Birmingham and he'll start, and he'll play every minute that he's available, and you can't fault him for that. He's passionate. He's a big reason where we are because of him. He was a big part of that. But our wingers, I mean, the lads that have been playing wide have just been phenomenal. And then, you've got other players to come back in, and you've got Rig, who really is playing into that role. I just think Patrick probably saw, hey, I'm not going to play much here. I want to go somewhere where I can play. And he's at the prime of his career, back end of his career, but he wants to play. Birmingham have got a bit of a project going on there with Tom Brady and his ownership group. And I just think he's probably looked at the strength of the players that have come in and just said, I'm not going to see much of the pitch this year. So I kind of don't blame him. I'm disappointed, yes, but because I think he would have been fantastic to bring off the bench. But some players are not happy coming off the bench, And as Dan was saying, the speed of play now and the level of play, Hume and Mayenda and Ballard are the ones that have fitted in. Rig will, and he's still very young. You look at Tommy Watson, just got the call up with England under 21. So we're doing something right in the academy processes. But those now have got to probably be shipped out on loan to come back in to be ready to play. They need playing time, and they're probably not going to get it with this squad right now. I mean, what KLD and Speakman have done is phenomenal. Nobody saw that coming, but they put their pocket where the talk has been and backed it up. And we can't fault it. And the quality of the players we brought in have shocked a lot of people. So, I mean, shocked so much that Alan Shearer wouldn't even talk about it. So it's been fantastic. And it just shows the competition there now. And the one to me that was really stood out, and it is next level, is Alderete at the back. Oh, my God, the composure that guy has. And I think Dan Ballard will learn so much from him. But he's delivered 2 assists from a centre-back. Phenomenal. So it's disappointing on Roberts leaving, but I don't blame him. And players want to play. So I think he's seen the writing on the wall. And when you've got players like Lefebvre come in, he didn't start every game, even last season, when he joined us, and was rested a little bit to get the pace of play. Now he's probably man of the match in the last game, and the pace of play is right in his wheelhouse. So I get where Paddy's coming from. It was sad to see him go, but I think it's a good move for him, and I think we've got enough cover to come around to make things work.
Yep. And Dan, one of our new signings is our new number 1, although he doesn't wear number 1, is Robin Roofs. Now, I don't think Anthony Patterson is a bad goalkeeper. I think he's a good goalkeeper. He's got his flaws, like every goalkeeper. I mean, if it wasn't for that save at Wembley in the first minute, things would have been very different. But you have to say that Robin Roos has come in. He's taken advantage of the fact that Patterson was unavailable in pre-season, and he's certainly taken his chance, hasn't he?
Absolutely agree with you 100%. I mean, another bargain, another good work from the Sunderland scouts to get this gem. I think he's a top goalkeeper. You can see it like every game he plays. He's just a professional, extremely talented goalkeeper. We're lucky to have him, and he's also young as well. Of course, I feel sorry for Pato because he's the one who basically helped us so much to reach the promised land Premier League. But he understands that if someone is in a good shape and good form, that they will probably stay for a while. I'm sure his time will come as well during the season. You know, there's suspensions, there's some injuries, God forbid, but these things happen. You need to have at least two good goalkeepers, and then obviously, almost for every position, you have to have two good players equally good to come on as and help the team. So for me, I was quite surprised that he's that good. I was very pleased. And he's behind the win against Brentford, saving this penalty, and he had a few good saves as well against West Ham as well. And I mean, he's top goalkeeper. I can't be more happier than this.
Yep. Pete, thoughts on Robin Roos?
Oh my! I mean, the fact that he's in the Dutch national team right now for the international break, and it just exudes confidence in your back line when you come out and take crosses like he does. It was one of, Pato, we thought it was a vampire who was frightened of crosses. But we know his shot-stopping capabilities. And that save in the first minute is probably the reason we're where we are. So you can't fault that. But Roofs has just come in and 6'4", he just commands the area. His kicks, left foot and right foot, just turn teams around and get them on the back foot, and it's release players. And I'm not saying it's kind of Jordan Pickford, little dink here, a little dink there, but it's for a young lad. I think was he 24? He's just absolutely phenomenal. And it just brings a lot of confidence to your back line when he comes out and claims crosses, and just demands from his back line, but he also commands his area, and it's just so different. Pato, you never heard a squeak out of him. At least we didn't when we're watching the games. And you see Roofs and what it brings to the team, and that ripples through from the back line through. And I just think it adds a next level of confidence to our whole team, I've got to be honest.
Yep. Dan, on our defence then. So there's been a lot of change in our defence. We've signed Gertruda, Lucharel Gertruda from, where did he come from? He come from Leipzig, didn't he? We've signed Omar Alderete, as we've mentioned before. We've signed Mukiele. We've signed Reinildo, Masuaku. And I think, well, I mean, Alderete, we've seen firsthand how good he is. He won our Bilbao Black Cats Player of the Month award this month because he's been outstanding. Mukiele, I saw him against Huddersfield and against Brentford, and I thought he was top draw. And Reinildo as well has been a bit of an unsung hero because I think he's just got so much energy to get up and down the pitch. And Atletico Madrid fans on social media were devastated that they lost him because they said he was their best defender.
Well, again, I think we've been lucky, and again, well done to the scouts. We recruited some tremendous players, and I am extremely impressed by Alderete. I mean, he came on as a substitution against West Ham, and you could see the way he started playing, and then he provided for the first goal, and absolutely top player. I mean, Reinildo is one of the most experienced on the pitch. He's 31 or something. He's got so much experience, this guy. He's so fast for his age. I couldn't believe it. He's physically strong. He's a clever player. I mean, our defense is looking really good at the minute. Plus, we've got, as you said, options. We got Mokelele. We got Gertruda. So we are prepared for a battle. We are prepared because defense, obviously, is going to be the one that's going to keep us going, because if you start leaking too many goals, then what are your chances to win a football game? You know, you always start from the defense. And I think we sorted it out with Dan Ballard coming back in 2 weeks. I think we got a pretty good defensive wall at the back.
Mm-hmm. Pete, Miguel on our Spanish version of the podcast was telling me the other day that he's not surprised that Alderete settled in so quickly because although he might not speak as much English as people like, he said that he came from Getafe, where the Getafe coach and the style of play was very similar to what Sunderland play now. So he's not absolutely surprised at all that he's fitted in straight away.
Well, he's hard as nails. I mean, if you look at his, he's getting a lot of yellow cards playing at Getafe. Hard as nails, no nonsense, but he's super skillful. And then you've got Dan Ballard's presence, Ronaldo on one side, Hume on the other. Both of them are bombing up and down the line, and they pivot so well. So when Hume goes, Ronaldo drops around and gives us that pace of cover if any of those two are lacking it. But the ball hasn't really got in behind us too often for allowing to do that. Unfortunately, when Sealt was playing, it happened. They got into the box and caught him on his heels and a little sideways at times. But when you're getting players from Getafe, PSG, Leipzig, Atletico Madrid, Ajax, they're not the type of players anyone would have probably, if you'd asked them at the beginning of the transfer window, that would come to Sunderland. But they have. And I think it's what Regis Labrie and then what our scout and Speakman and his group have sold them on the project. And they've bought into it. And we've got quality players all the way through every layer of the team now. And it's exciting to watch.
Yeah. And Dan, onto the midfield then. Well, obviously the biggest name to arrive this summer was Granit Xhaka. I think people didn't believe it, probably thought it was April Fool's Day that we kind of bid for him. And then you had Bayern Leverkusen social media trying to portray him as being happy in Brazil when they're on pre-season. A week later, he was in Sunderland. So how massive is that signing? And what are your thoughts on the fact that he's replaced Dan Neil as club captain? And what does that mean for Dan Neil?
Well, Dan Neil's story is similar to Patrick Roberts. Obviously, he knows that he will not see much play this season unless someone is injured or in a games where we're leading comfortably. God knows. But Xhaka, I mean, what a treasure! To be honest, we're lucky that Bayer Leverkusen started selling their players. Because basically, before they sacked their manager, they basically sold almost the whole team, and we're lucky to have this guy because he's such a fighter. He reminds me of a bit of a mixture of Kevin Ball, Lee Cattermole, and all these hard players we had before. And he's that Mr. Motivator. He's the experienced guy. He can give you a brilliant pass. He can score some goals. He can do free kicks. I mean, he's everywhere. He's such an engine, and we needed someone like him, like a proper leader, to be in the middle of the pitch to boss things about and to teach the youngsters and to just basically. I mean, I was watching him particularly against Brentford. He was killing the game off. He was trying to stop Brentford from playing. He was using all the tricks there, do a little foul here and there. He was everywhere. This guy is just a real bonus for Sunderland. And I think if we do more than surviving this season, it will be pretty much because of him as well. Because he as I said, he's got everything that a modern player needs to be. And Dan Neil, unfortunately, that's the destiny for most players who fought hard to get their team up promoted. And then with the new recruitments, he lost his place. And again, I feel sorry for him because he's a local lad. I'd like to see more Sunderland players from Sunderland playing for us. But the reality is that the Premier League is a big monster. We need to be ready for it. Otherwise, we know what's going to happen. So,
yeah,
sad but true.
Pete, are we getting a better version of Granit Xhaka than he was at Arsenal?
It's interesting. I think he plays a slightly different role. I think when he went overseas to Germany and then came back, he's come back a lot more mature. He was a little rash. He was like your cat and mull. I don't want to put him in the same category as Roy Keane, but he has that calming effect. And I think going to Germany and coming back, he now has the calming effect on the team. It was interesting though, Lee, 10 days prior to him signing for us, the talk was Henderson coming back to us. Henderson hardly kicked the ball for Brentford against us. I watched the game, was looking to see how often he was mentioned, and he was mentioned so few times. And he's only a year or so older than Xhaka. Xhaka had such an influence on the team, and it's a lot more a quiet calmness that exudes itself through his quality of work that he does. And he's going to hammer a tackle, but he's got the finesse to pull those passes, and those balls through to Lefay and Hume was bombing down their line, and Xhaka would find him time and time again. And he just switches the point of attack so effortlessly, and it catches teams out, and that's what's got other teams on the back foot, and that's so exciting to watch. So I think he's a different player to where he was at Arsenal. I think he was a little more rash in the tackle at Arsenal. I think going to Germany has brought a level of calmness to his game. Obviously, in Germany, you've got a bit more time than the Premier League. But I think for us, it's such a huge influence that he has. And it's almost quiet influence, but it's demanding of others. And he knows he's going to expect results. And I think he just drives the team forward. It's phenomenal to watch.
Yep. And hopefully long may it continue.
Yes.
Right, we're going to take a very quick short break, and we'll be back in a few minutes for part 2 to talk about the rest of the midfield and the forwards. See you soon.
My name is Ian McNee. I've been supporting Sunderland since 1957. I was born in Seam, but I now live in Wuppertal in Germany, and I'm the vice chairman of the German Black Cats.
Welcome back to part 2 then. So we're back after that short break. We just talked about the influence of Granit Xhaka. Pete, we've got 2 other fellas in that midfield who are engines by the name of Noah Siddiqui and Mo Diarra. Now, obviously, Diarra was like the big money signing, 30 million from Strasbourg, the replacement of Joe Bellingham. But Noah Siddiqui was the one who kind of not raised eyebrows, but everyone thought that he wouldn't be the one that's going to start. He might be the one that drops out because Enzo Lefay signed as well. But he's actually been one of the better performers, hasn't he? Because his energy is incredible.
Well, let me ask you two, who's heard of Union Saint-Gilloise? That's where we get him from. And that's the quality of work that the scouting group have done. And he's just been so exciting to watch. I mean, both flanks with Hume, with Ronaldinho and Hume, and then those two, and then you got Lefay kind of ghosting out there at times. Who you just wouldn't have known anything about these players, So, I mean, the unfortunate thing, it's going to be interesting what happens when the AFCON Cup comes around. Yeah, that could be a telling time, but we've also got the January window. So if they've got the purse strings open, we might have to capitalize and bring in a player or two then. But they've been phenomenal to watch. And when you've got Xhaka just sitting in there and pulling the strings, they go pretty much free reign, and as does Lefay. And it just creates havoc amongst other teams, and it's been great to watch so far.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope for the African Cups that their countries bloody lose straight away, and they return back to us like straight away. I will cheer up every country that hasn't got Sunderland player.
A Sunderland player, yeah.
How about that?
And cheer on a country that's.
I'm with you, Dan. I'll be cheering you on.
Yeah, I mean, I think in total, they said there was 8 players that could be missing, or 7 players for the AFCON. But I mean, they all play for different countries, I think, don't they? So you'd expect that some of them might get eliminated quite quickly. So that can't be that bad. But Dan, what do you think of the signings of Siddiqui and Diarra, and what do you think is the difference that they've brought to the team compared to last year where we had, for example, Job, Regan, Dan Neil?
Well, they're top players in my eyes, particularly Diarra. This guy, although he's young, he had 100 games in the French league under his belt. He's young, but he's actually experienced. And I think both of them have shown great skills, great understanding of the game. And also, I've seen this energy and aggression, particularly in Diarra. Like, we wanted players like this. We were in a desperate need of players like this because quite often we got bullied last season, especially particularly in the Championship and League One. We got bullied out of these big monsters, particularly Luton. If you remember that game away to Luton, this was because I was behind the goal and I could see exactly what's happening. And then you need players like this who are skillful, but also very, very strong physically and aggressive, and then winding up the opposition and at the same time reading the game really well and being clever on the pitch. So top players. Again, great job by the scouts. Lucky to have them on the pitch, and I think they will actually get better and better as we go along because all these new players, they need more time to gel together, and I think they will produce much better performances.
Yeah. Pete,
can I just add there, Lee?
Yeah.
You know, they were famously said that you don't win anything with kids. I think it was Alan Hansen back in the day to Fergie. I'm not comparing Sunderland's last year's team with the class of '92, but they're close. Their energy got us through last year with some experience around it. Now, as Dan said, we've got experienced players coming in who don't get bullied or don't get pushed around. I even think Job, as much as he's a strong player, I think he would have been pushed off the ball and pushed around. We've got new players in that just don't get bullied. Their energy, the niggly players that'll nip in, and they've got the experience behind them. So we've grown from where we were, but I think this group just has a different level of experience that prepares us well for this season. You know, it took Southampton all season to get 2 wins, and we've got it in 3 games.
Yeah. Dan, on the topic of Diarra, then he's replaced Job. Have we got a better player for a similar price? I
think so because, as I said, he had a lot of experience. I mean, Job done brilliantly for us, no question about it. But there were games that you could see him a little bit lost, a little bit like out of energy. We probably nearly overburned him last season. So I think Diarra he's got like much more energy. He's more aggressive and more experienced. In my eyes, if not better, same as Bellingham. But I think he's better.
All right, Pete, so on to the wingers then. We've signed 3 of them. We've got Shemsdean Talby, we've got Simon Adingra, and the most recent was Bernard Traore from Ajax. We've seen Talby, we've seen Adingra. What are your thoughts on them so far?
Well, back in the day, I cut my teeth at Ajax coaching.
Look at you.
And loved their total football. So getting a player from Ajax, I just love how they bring their players through. And I think he's just going to add another layer to what we already have. I think the speed that those players have just caused havoc. And it gets teams on the back foot immediately. And the benefit it does is Mayenda or Isidore can stay high. But I agree with Dan. I think with bringing in someone like Broby, we might go to 2 up front at times. And then we can get true wingers out there. But for me, it's been an integral part of what Regis Labrie has done last season and using that width. I just think it's gone to another level with these players now.
Mm-hmm. Dan, do you think Labrie is kind of moving away from that classic winger style that we had with Mundell and Roberts, and he's going for more kind of technical players on the wings?
Well, as I said earlier, I think he will be using different tactics for each game. So he might. We can see he's trying to do that now, but I think occasionally he will be returning back to using the wings more often. And I think, as you said, that we've got these players now. Adingra, particularly, I like him a lot. He's very, very. I would say this guy's. You don't know what to expect from him. He's so creative. We need players like him. He's very creative, and I expect a lot more from him. Traore is a very experienced player. I think he played in England, didn't he?
For Villa, yeah.
For Villa, yes.
Yeah.
So he knows about English football. He's got more experience now with Ajax, and I think he will bring a lot of confidence in the team as well. And we should be quite confident that the players we brought this season should be well good enough to do more than survival. And I believe in that, and I hope I'm right, because things can go wrong quickly. Injuries, suspensions, playing the worst, the playing the teams not at the right time. So all this adds up. But I think that we got, as Pete said, we got 6 points out of 9 in the first 3 games, where Southampton got 12 all season.
Yeah.
Tells you something.
Yeah.
I know it's too early to say anything, but for me, the first 10 games are crucial. You can basically see the shape of every team. And I think we need to know exactly what Sunderland will be doing against the big teams, because we played 3 teams so far that are beatable. But then, on the other hand, I'm going to know how good we are when we play the Arsenals, the Liverpools, the Derby, obviously. And then we need to keep our heads cool. We need to be very professional, and we need to treat every game. I know it's a cliche, but we need to treat every game separately and then one at a time. Because if you look ahead too far, it's no good. We need to concentrate on each game as they come, and then I will know much better when we go through November or something. Then we will know how the team is shaped.
Yeah.
And then how we gonna cope this season.
Well, I think when we play teams like Liverpool and Man City and Arsenal, I think after the way Arsenal dismantled Leeds, I think we might get a couple of drubbings this year, but I mean I don't think it's the end of the world, because it's just a different level, isn't it?
Not really the end of the world, but I think we've got much more to show these teams, and I think Arsenal against Liverpool were not that special. Against Man United as well. I mean, against Leeds, okay, fair enough. They were at home. They had a good game, but I fancy our chances.
Oh, optimistic.
And I think Lee Adringa, he was at Brighton, wasn't he?
Yep.
So he's got, and he was playing in a good system, and he was allowed to roam around a little bit. So I think he brings that element that some of the other players don't. They've got the experience in the Premier League,
Mm-hmm. Pete, there's one player that we've signed that seems to be a bit like Marmite at the minute, because I've read reviews of him. He's a really good player, or he hasn't done much, and that's Shemsdean Talbi. What have your thoughts been on him?
Well, I mean, it's hard because the Belgian league is never really mentioned. Obviously, they get a team or sometimes 2 into the Champions League. But Bruges have always been a club that have had a solid background and good players come through their system and then move on. So we're hoping Talby's one of those. I haven't seen an awful lot of footage of him playing before he came to us, so it's hard to say. I just know the grounding he's had where he's been will set him up well for us. But Belgian soccer is very different to the Premier League. So until we really see him play week in, week out, I don't know if we can truly measure that, because there's not many teams in the Belgian league that are going to push, our top teams anywhere near. So, but Bruges do a really good job of the fundamental, they're like an Ajax of the Belgian league. It's total football. They do things right. They bring players through with the fundamentals. So we know he's going to be a skillful player. He's going to have the mindset. I just don't know the speed of play, if that's going to be something that he's got to catch up on.
Yeah. I mean, Dan, I think that, for example, some of the fans possibly are comparing Talby to Roberts and thinking he's nothing like Roberts. I think that's the case. It's like a misconception, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I quite like him. He's from Morocco, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's You know how well Morocco played in the last World Cup. I think he's a very skillful player. What I've noticed, the first game, he was a bit scared. I think the Premier League was a little bit too much physically for him. But I think he will get used to that, and we will see a much better Talby in the future. I think he's a great player. I don't want to compare him to Patrick Roberts. There's no point of comparing people too much. I think he's a good player, skillful player, reads the game well. He can produce great passes. He can be a player or two. I expect a lot from him.
Yep. And Pete, obviously, we spoke about Mayenda and Isidore. Both have got off the mark this season so far, which is absolutely massive for their confidence, gives them belief. Got two different types of strikers there, haven't you? Because Mayenda, he likes to run with the ball, I think, more than receive the ball at his feet. And whereas Isidore likes to basically hug the left touchline, or he likes to go in behind. Now, with this new signing, Brian Brobby, it's a third different striking option, which is completely different to Isidore Mayenda. Now, I don't know if you've seen his highlights reel, but for me, and I interviewed Sunderland fan Bastian, who lives in Concert. He's a Dutch fan. He lives in Concert, of all places. And he was telling me he reminds him of Victor Anichebe, but obviously a much higher level. And basically a big, strong unit that can hold up the ball, can swivel on a sixpence, and can get a shot away. Now, I think that's something quite important for our style of play, because sometimes we are a bit fearful of playing the ball forward to our strikers because it's not Mayenda don't necessarily like receiving the ball at the feet. But with Brobby, we do have that option.
I think, if you combine the best of Isidore and Mayenda, you've got a great forward. Brobby looks like to bring both of those qualities. Mayenda's got the speed, Isidore's got the power, and he does cut inside, and both of them are played out in the wing. I think Brobby's here out and out forward, and I think it's something that we've lacked. So hopefully, whatever Regis does in how he brings players around them, I think Brobby's just going to bring that power, and that's going to get teams on the back foot. And I think the way Roofs can play that long ball to relieve pressure, I think if we soak up that pressure and then catch them on the counter-attack, Brobby could be that guy that gets in behind. I know Mayenda can do it with speed. I know Isidore can do it with a bit of guile, but he's got a little bit of power. I think Brobby combines the best of both of those players. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he's employed.
Mm-hmm. Dan, overall then, are you satisfied with the squad that we've got heading to for the next few months until January?
Absolutely, 100%. I just wanted to add a few comments about Brobby, because I was watching his goals with Ajax on YouTube, and what I've noticed is he's the proper number 9 striker. He's always at the end of that ball where he needs to be to actually put it in the back of the net. I think we need this kind of a striker. Plus, his physical presence up there will be much needed in the Premiership. And I think he can help us a lot this season, because with his aggression, because he knows where to be, and he's just a proper striker. He's lurking up there, and he's always there. So when the ball is crossed, he's always there. So I think, well, I mean, we need to see how he's going to adapt to the English way of playing, particularly in the Premier League. But I think his aggression will help him, and his experience in Ajax will also help him. And comparing Mayenda and Isidore, don't forget, is the more experienced one. Mayenda is a young lad. He's still learning. He's where Isidore was playing for Zenit St. Petersburg, and he played Champions League football, and he had a lot of experience. And I think you can see that and then he came on as a substitution twice, and he scored twice. So he's experienced guy, at the same time really fast, and he's got a powerful shot. So I think the three of them can be helping Sunderland a lot. Because at the end of the day, to win a football game, you need to score goals.
Yeah, he was Robbie was described as Josie Altidore with some skill.
Oh no!
You know what?
No,
it did cross my mind as well. That it did cross my mind.
Don't remind me of Altidore, please.
Thank you for the touch to Barini.
We'll have a nightmare tonight.
No, but I think like Isidore and Mayenda, I think like Mayenda's finally come out of his shell. He's got that kind of bit of banter with the fans when he does the celebration at the end of the game. They're both players with confidence now, aren't they? And I think that, listen, I think both of them want to do well for Sunderland. They both like the Sunderland, and I think Brian Brobby signing for such a big fee will only push them to try and make themselves better and be that number 9 on the pitch. Pete, your thoughts on the squad? Are there any areas that you still think we're a bit light, or are you satisfied that we've got enough to get us through till January?
Well, now Sealt's gone. Cover for the centre-back's always going to be interesting, but I do think we have enough cover now with who we brought in. And I just think Alderete he'll bring Dan Ballard along. And I just think that's going to be key to and the spine of the team. We talked about Brobby. We talked about the nice thing is Altidore. Sorry, I don't know how you two have a nightmare. The nice thing is Mayenda and Isidore have scored a goal early in the season, and their pressure's off. So now hopefully they can flourish and move on from that. But I think it builds from the back. And to be honest, I think we've got good cover everywhere. And
I mean, we've still got Mr. Sunderland, Luke O'Nien to come back. He might get.
I mean, there's players who'll come in and do a job. And O'Nien, remember, is a centre mid. He's a holding mid. So he could go in there and do a job if just heaven forbid Jack got injured. He could go in there and do a job different to Dan Neil. I think Dan Neil should have been employed a little further up the field, to be honest. But whatever happened, we got it done and it worked. But I do think that O'Nien is a better option in that holding mid because of his defensive qualities. So to be honest, I think we've got good cover everywhere. I think Pato, as long as he stays with us, is a good number 2. Simon Moore is a great number 3. It goes right the way through the team now, and touch wood, everything stays that we've got healthy players, and I think it's going to be just a great season to watch.
Yeah, don't forget that we still have got Mundell, and I would love to see Mundell and how he's gonna fit in the Premier League. I'm really keen to see this guy.
I think that those type of players that with that pace in the latter stages of games, when the game is more open, I think that they're kind of ideally suited for that. Right, we're going to especially mention Mark Gue because Mark Gue obviously came on loan, played 1.5 games, scored against Huddersfield, a good header, but he's being called back. Dan, I think basically because of the success of Mukiele, because of the success of Alderete, basically we've decided not to spend 30 million euros on John Lukumi from Bologna, and instead we bought Brian Brobby from Ajax 25 million and we let Gue go back. I think basically everyone's happy now, aren't they? Yeah,
I mean, it's the right move. I mean, you have this young, talented Chelsea player, a Spanish guy, and I spoke to a few Chelsea fans in London. They said that he was very promising, like scored a few goals in the Conference Cup, I think. So they were saying good things about him. And then I really wanted to see how he's going to perform. But then, I mean, typically for Sunderland, something like this will happen and they will pull him away a couple of days before the transfer window to close. So the club, fair play to the club. They acted quickly and we got 3 more players after that. So I think extremely good business this season. Not only this season, because obviously in the last 5 years we were doing the right things. And when Speakman said 5 years plan to get to the Premier League, nobody believed him, including myself. So now we're in the Premier League and spending like hell. And acting quickly, no panic buys. Like, I think proper business.
Yeah. And Pete, obviously now we've got an international break, but our next match is Crystal Palace away. But by the way, listen, hey, Sunderland have got 16 players on international duty. When did that happen?
No, I know. Well, one, it keeps them sharp, and two, it might have been about 1973, I think. I mean, Crystal Palace are just that team that, you go and win the FA Cup against Liverpool, but then they sell their best players. They did well to keep a hold of their centre back, Gui, and but he doesn't make one team. So I'm excited for this game because it's kind of a measure of the mid-table clubs, so to speak. Obviously, everybody wants to push for that top six, but I think Palace, they haven't lost a game yet. They've got 2 draws and a win, so they haven't lost a single game yet. So they're doing something right. And it's a bit like Brentford were last season and Bournemouth. They just do things under the radar, not Forest for the last 2 or 3 seasons. They just consolidate and do things right without trying to look to be in that top 4 or 5. And Forest nearly were last season. But I think Palace surprised a lot of people. And these coaches who've come from overseas, Regis Labrie being one of them, that a lot of people didn't know about, are actually starting to get things done at these clubs. And I think Glasner is one of those. Frank, there's a number of them now in the Premier League, and people wouldn't have heard of them 5 years ago. Now they're doing things, and they're doing things without too much. They haven't got the special ones presence, but they're doing things quietly, but competently and confidently, and it's building a lot of confidence in their teams. And long may it rain for us,
Yep. Dan, it was this time last year that we recorded the first episode of Black Cats Chat. Yeah, it was just after our 3-1 win against Portsmouth away from home, and you were fuming that there was an international break because you were worried that the international break might take away the momentum.
Yes.
And you were right because we got beat off Plymouth the next game. What are your thoughts this time round?
This time, actually, I welcome the international break because of Dan Ballard. We've got to get him back. So 2 weeks is exactly what he needs to get back, hopefully. And then I thought that would help us to calm down a little bit and prepare for the Palace game. But I mean, Palace game's always been tricky for us. And as far as I remember living in London, going to almost every fixture with Crystal Palace, we always had a few problems, apart from that 4-0 a few years ago with Jermaine Defoe scoring twice.
Yeah.
And I was there, of course. And this time, me and my son will be there cheering the lads, as I said earlier. And I was watching Palace dismantling Aston Villa the other day, and I was a bit worried, although Aston Villa are not having the best of the starts now. So it will be interesting to see how we're going to perform against a very good Crystal Palace team who won the FA Cup, then the Charity Shield against top teams like Man City and Liverpool. And you're thinking, as you said, Pete, they haven't lost in 14 games. So it's about time for them to lose.
It is.
Love the optimism, Dan. Love the optimism.
I would love a 1-0 away win for Sunderland because that's my favourite score.
We know
Sound like an Arsenal fan.
Especially away from home. 1-0 is so sweet.
Oh, yes.
It's a short journey home for you as well, Dan, because you're in London.
Well, I'm in North London, so it's not that good. I mean, like crossing the whole London to South London to Selhurst, it's quite of a journey. I might drive there. We'll see.
Right, well, listen, we're going to wrap it up, but before we do, Regis Labrie has been nominated for Manager of the Month. Please don't vote for him because we don't want to get jinxed. But yeah, congratulations, Regis, for the nominations, but please don't win. Anyway, we'll be back probably next week sometime for a review of the Palace game. Pete, Dan, thanks for coming on. Lovely to chat with you again. See you soon. How are the lads?
Away the lads. Cheers, lads.
Away, lads.